I have never seen North Shore, South Shore in the metropolitan areas of Covington, Mandeville, and Madisonville, and the metropolitan area of New Orleans, both under catastrophic tornado warnings. Just unprecedented situation going on.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we have a definite hook signature developing here. So right now I would say if the tornado is not on the ground, it's going to be on the ground at just about any time. Bruce, I'm going to go over to you. I'm going to do a couple things here on Viper with it to help you along.
All right, let's come back to me here. And again, what we're looking at is now we're starting to see rotation, and we're starting to see kind of a southwestward flank. So whenever you start seeing kind of winds and rain peeling off the main feature, that indicates a rotation going on.
Guys, come back over here. We need to come back now. We're getting a tornado debris signature in New Orleans East. This is a tornado emergency. It looks like the radar is confirming damage on the ground. We have damaging hail being reported. Anybody in New Orleans East, east of Pontchartrain Park and the Lakefront Airport, running all of Chef up I-10 to the Venetian Isles, you need to be inside and away from windows. You need to be on the lowest floor of your house. You need to put as many walls between you and the outside of your house as you can.
All we could do was hide under the desk and hold on to each other.
Rare and powerful twisters.
That's when everything just hit. And I mean, it's just like a bomb hit, and we just stood down. We had debris all over us. Oh my God.
Shake southeast Louisiana to its core.
I heard a lot of wind blowing. I heard the windows pane knocking out. And I told my wife, get down, get out the way.
From New Orleans East to Jefferson and the North Shore.
Today we had a tough day across our state. In at least 6 different parishes, there were 7 confirmed tornadoes that touched down.
Homes, businesses, schools, and even 18-wheelers fail the test of this unexpected force of Mother Nature.
I mean, this is just total devastation, and some people just not equipped to go through this again. It's hard.
I keep trying to tell myself it's just a house, and we'll rebuild, and we will.
Communities once again forced to regroup and start over again. Good evening, I'm Kim Holden.
And I'm Lee Zurich. The threat of severe weather is gone tonight, but the cleanup is just getting started. City and state leaders promise help as people salvage what's left and start rebuilding once again.
Chief Meteorologist David Bernard will have what was behind today's outbreaks and your forecast for the rest of the week in just a few minutes. But first, a woman shares her story of survival as she clung to her newborn.
Yeah, the tornado in New Orleans East ripped the trailer she was in to pieces.
She flew way to piss in the backyard, and I ended up in that black car right there.
Wow, Amanda Stockfeld says the only thing on her mind was protecting her 8-week-old baby girl. Rob Krieger has the story.
It was a normal day for Amanda Stockfeld, who works at this impound lot, now damaged and destroyed. Normal outside of the fact that because of a doctor's appointment, she had her 2-month-old daughter with her at work. And then in an instant, their lives were turned upside down.
I heard the sound of a freight train, and I was holding her. All I could think of was putting her back in her car seat. So I put her in her car seat, I buckled her up, I put her underneath my work desk. I crawled underneath there with her. I locked my arm around the handle of her car seat.
Within moments, as Stockfeld huddled under her desk with her daughter and another coworker, her worst fear unfolded with unyielding fury.
We heard the trailer coming apart, and then we flipped over backwards. And then it's like the trailer exploded, and me and the baby went flying through the air. And I saw the sky, the inside of the vortex. I saw her in her car seat above my head, and then we hit the ground.
As the young mother flew through the air, she gripped tightly to her newborn as Mother Nature devoured steel and tore through buildings, tossing her relentlessly. She had one thing on her mind.
Don't let go. Just don't let go.
Just looking at the damage left behind by this storm, this snapped power pole that's right here, you can tell how powerful this storm was and how fortunate a lot of people are tonight. The tornado's powerful winds snapped power lines and bent metal utility poles throughout New Orleans East. Residents rushed for cover and found debris torn from businesses, traveled nearly a quarter of a mile before crashing down in their backyard.
And the shoe store sign is over there in my yard.
What was it like being in that bathtub with your wife as it's coming through?
Well, it's just like being in a bathtub with my wife. Just gotta hold on. You know, all I can say is, I thank God that we just passed it over. You know, it just went on over us. We lost a few houses in the neighborhood, but still in all, we was blessed.
And blessed is something Abe Henry feels as well.
The roof flew, and all the grocery and all the liquor and all the boxes came tumbling down. I did my best to run and just cover myself.
The tornado ripped the roof off a convenience store Henry works at on Chef Mentor Highway. He could feel the tornado try to take him with it.
I had to grab onto like table, the legs of the table metal, you know, try to keep myself on the ground as it was too windy and everything was just pushing me against the wall and everything.
Police! Emergency crews went door to door to assess the damage, leaving the mark on doors many who lived through Hurricane Katrina know all too well.
Coming to see this again, it kind of reminded me of Katrina, and I was a teenager then.
April 5th, 2017. Fox 8 News, along with our partners at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and Clear Health Costs, launched the largest investigative project of its kind.
When there's no transparency, it's invisible. So you don't know if you're getting ripped off or if you're getting a good deal.
While healthcare costs skyrocket, sick patients seek treatment, blind to the price. First, our team of journalists collected cash prices across the New Orleans area. The first of its kind compilation quickly revealed wide disparities.
These two medical offices may only be a mile and a half apart, but when it comes to the price you pay for services, the cost isn't even close. Without using insurance but paying cash, a lower back MRI at stand-up open MRI centers costs $1,250. Down the road at Metairie Imaging, the same procedure costs about half the price, $675.
If you look at it from a system point of view, there's no reason at all. And again, it's as though your Chevrolet costs $25,000 at one dealer and $50,000 at another dealer.
But the heart of our investigative series came from our viewers as we asked them to contribute to our stories.
We want your help gathering prices. We need the cost of any procedure you've had, MRI, colonoscopy, blood test, you name it. We want you to add all of that information into our website to help create a larger data set, help us find stories, help you get information.
The result, what viewers described as an informative and sometimes infuriating investigative series. Cracking the Code didn't just tell you stories about outrageous medical bills. The series empowered viewers by giving them the tools to save their hard-earned money. And all of that happened because of crowdsourcing from across the metro area.
Imagine spending thousands of dollars on a procedure your insurance company should have given you for free. It may be happening as we find out in this next installment of Cracking the Code.
Oh man, you don't want to drink all that stuff.
If you've ever had a colonoscopy, you can relate to Cedric Valerie.
It is awful.
But Valerie's routine colonoscopy has produced bills that keep coming and coming.
Yeah, it's confusing because every time I turn around, another one comes.
What was worse, preparing for the colonoscopy or paying the bills?
Paying the bill. Yeah, paying the bill, definitely. It was a shock to me.
Valerie's now out of pocket $2,000.
And I didn't know until the story came on, that there are different prices for the same procedure. So
you thought they were the same price everywhere?
I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume, it was a surprise to me.
Valerie must pay for the procedure, the doctor, and the anesthesiologist. His insurance company billed him almost $1,300 for the colonoscopy at Tulane Medical Center and another $800 to cover the cost of the anesthesiologist. We showed Valerie our online database where we found less expensive colonoscopy prices. Fox 8 News and our partners at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and Clear Health Costs have gathered colonoscopy prices across the metro area. Many Fox 8 viewers have also contributed prices to our database. Some of those prices raise serious questions. A Humana-managed Medicare plan charged the government $4,100 for this colonoscopy at Ochsner, a high price in our database. The same procedure at Metropolitan Gastroenterology costs $1,500. At NOLA Gastro, $1,200.
Shots being fired and there are people running.
Congressman Steve Scalise, a member of House leadership, was shot and badly wounded.
Another one down. I think it was a total of 5 down.
The field was basically a killing field.
2 of our great Capitol Police folks were injured, saving our lives because we were sitting ducks in that dugout.
An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
Is this America's breaking point when it comes to the political rhetoric that's become so hateful? It's my breaking point.
I want you to know that you have the prayers not only of the entire city behind you, but of an entire nation and, frankly, the entire world.
Good afternoon, I'm Shelley Brown. And I'm Kim Holden. Congressman Steve Scalise is in critical condition after a gunman shot the Republican leader and 4 others this morning. You can see people in this video just ducking for cover. Congressman Scalise was shot in the hip this morning while practicing for tomorrow's annual congressional baseball game. He was rushed into surgery and is now at Washington, D.C.'s MedStar Hospital. Our Rob Masson is live for us this afternoon at the hospital in D.C.
Kim and Shelley, Congressman Scalise came in here about 6 hours ago with that gunshot wound to the hip. He was brought straight into surgery. They operated on him. When he was brought in, they said he was in stable condition. Then about 2 hours ago, MedStar Washington Hospital put out a tweet saying that he had been now listed as critical but stable. Steve Scalise, congressman for the past 9 years in Louisiana, rose to the position of House Majority Whip, a good friend of President Trump.
Doctors started a 3rd surgery on the Majority Whip this morning. New Orleans Representative Cedric Richmond spoke with Scalise's family this afternoon. He says all of the surgeries have been successful.
FBI agents returned to the site of the shooting rampage today looking for evidence. They say James Hodgkinson legally purchased the handgun and assault-style rifle used in the attack from licensed firearms sellers.
This investigation continues as people gear up tonight for the congressional baseball game Republicans were practicing for before yesterday's gunfire. Security has been beefed up for this game. Republicans and Democrats plan to use the game to pay tribute to Scalise.
Rob Masson and John Snell are in Washington with coverage of this case. We begin with Rob Masson live outside Nationals Park, where tonight's congressional baseball game begins in less than 1 hour.
That's right, Lee, and they opened the gates just about 30 minutes ago. I'm joined right now by a gentleman from Arizona who's now finding himself wearing an LSU cap.
We see a lot of heat in politics and forget that these are real people with real families and that words matter to the folks here on Capitol Hill. And like so many others in Washington, we heard today, about an hour ago, in fact, from Cedric Richmond, that there's got to be some sort of an end to the toxic language surrounding political disagreements.
I think that people have to understand that, 1, elections have consequences, but 2, words have real consequences. And I think the political climate, as far as my lifetime, and I'm not that old, but it's the worst I've ever seen it.
Louisiana's top cop forced to resign. A powerful board member steps down. Criminal investigations launched into the highest paid state troopers.
It's disgraceful, it's shocking, it's unacceptable.
The Louisiana State Police rocked to its core, all on the heels of Lee Zurich's year-long investigation, State of Unrest.
Is that theft, though?
I'm embarrassed by it.
No, but
I don't think it's right at all.
But is it illegal?
I don't know that it's theft, Lee.
This is absolutely, as a matter of criminal law, theft.
More than 30 public records requests and thousands of hours of undercover surveillance produced an investigation that peeled back layers of potential corruption.
Now, how is that possible? Oh, my goodness.
We'd like to talk to you about using your power on the commission to try to punish a state trooper and then also getting tickets fixed for friends and yourself.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Louisiana State Police says its core values include integrity, selfless service, and honor. Tonight, you'll view an investigation that shows high-ranking officials not living up to their own code of conduct.
And if it's not?
It's a criminal offense.
It's an embarrassment. They all ought to hide their heads in a bag.
Here's Lee Zurich with State of Unrest.
False falsified tickets, falsified timesheets, all discovered by our months-long undercover investigation. The state's 3 highest paid troopers under criminal investigation. But state of unrest starts here at headquarters. In the more than 80-year history of state police, no one served as superintendent longer than Mike Edmondson, 9+ years. But Edmondson may be gone now because of this signature, which we discovered about 2 hours before our first story aired. Here's part 1 of State of Unrest. During the state's budget crunch, Louisiana State Police sent 17 people to a 4-day conference in San Diego for the October 2016 International Association of Chiefs of Police. State Police sent these 4 employees, Darrell Williams, Rodney Hyatt, Thurman Miller, and Alexander Nezgodinsky, to the conference in a state police vehicle. They drove from Baton Rouge to San Diego. When you calculate the troopers' salaries, meals, hotels, and gas, the drive cost state police and taxpayers $19,000. That doesn't include the costs once they reach San Diego. Comparatively, flying instead of driving would have cost a total of $5,000, and that includes a car rental in San Diego.
Who thought driving there was going to be cheaper than flying them there?
Well, when you first looked at the airfare, which was
$300.
Well, depending on when you bought that airfare, Lee. Look, I understand that. Let me tell you something. I don't agree with it.
But someone okayed it.
I don't like it. I know that.
Who okayed it?
I'm looking into that now. Look, it's ultimately rests on me.
But I mean,
ultimately, I knew that they were driving there.
But the troopers' drive to San Diego went off course. They took a detour through northern Texas, the next night in northern Arizona at a resort town in Grand Canyon National Park, and the third night in Las Vegas. The troopers spent one night of the 4-day trek out west at the Palazzo Hotel.
It took 4 days to get to San Diego.
Unacceptable, isn't it?
This afternoon, Edmondson released a statement updating the investigation, but emphasizing he learned last week employees traveled through Las Vegas. But that may not be true. Here is a credit card statement for Darrell Williams with charges in Grand Canyon National Park and the Palazzo in Las Vegas. The signature of the supervisor who approved it is unrecognizable. But here's another document for Williams with what appears to be the same signature. And look at the name printed below it, Mike Edmondson, the superintendent of state police. While the superintendent claims he didn't know about the trip until last week, it appears he signed off on at least one expense report in late December, essentially approving one employee's side trip through the Grand Canyon in Vegas, paid for with your money. Our sources told us the governor gave Edmondson a choice, resign or be fired. Days later, Edmondson stepped down, ending his nearly decade run as state police commissioner. Our undercover surveillance found these troopers potentially abusing a ticket writing program. We had an undercover camera at Thomas's house for 12 different workdays over the past few months. What we found, for all 12 days, Thomas claimed hours on his timesheet he didn't work.
You don't have to take a class in criminal law to know that you can't submit fraudulent timesheets.
September 4th of this year, Labor Day, Thomas billed taxpayers for 16 hours. The first 6 hours he worked a ticket writing overtime shift in St. Charles Parish. Then from noon to 10 p.m., his timesheet shows he worked his regular state police shift. But our undercover camera caught Thomas at home from 11:10 until 5 p.m. Almost 6 hours of that workday, Thomas didn't work. The next day, September 5th, Thomas's timesheet shows he worked until 10 p.m., but he arrived home at 6 and stayed there until 9:13. For 3 of the last 4 hours of his shift, Thomas's car remained in his driveway. September 6th, again, Thomas claims he worked 6 a.m. until 10 that night, but our surveillance unit spotted him arriving home at 9:26 a.m. He left at 12:43, but less than 6 hours later, he once again pulled into his driveway, and his car stayed there for 3 hours until he left just after 9 p.m. Of the 16 hours Thomas billed taxpayers that day, 6 of them he remained in his house.
The allegations are very concerning here. They're very troubling.
We have some breaking news now from the parade route. NOPD is telling us that a vehicle has plowed through the crowd over the neutral ground at Carrollton and Orleans. About 12 people are in critical condition after that car plowed. You're looking at a Facebook Live image right now.
Right. This is obviously a packed spot along the parade route. This is early in the route where the parade makes its first turn. We understand at least 50 to 20 people have been taken to the hospital.
Police are working between trying to secure this area, which is a crime scene, and at the same time trying to comb through the area and talk to the folks who may have seen something that can help them with this investigation. Now, when we were on scene, there was a police officer who had a gentleman in handcuffs that they were taking away. He appeared glassy-eyed. He was disheveled, and the officer said that he was the driver, put him into a unit, and that was the last that we saw of him. Not sure exactly what his state was, but obviously, just a scary situation out here for many folks whose families are out here. I mean, thousands of people on this neutral ground watching this parade, trying to enjoy it, trying to have a great day in this beautiful weather. And then just for, unfortunately, at least a dozen people just completely, this night just went completely awry in just a moment's notice.
At this time, it appears that it's a subject who was highly intoxicated, who struck a number of vehicles and then veered off, hitting a whole bunch of innocent people, who is now under investigation for DWI and, of course, hitting all the people who are injured.
Nielsen Rizzuto smelled like alcohol and had at least a .232 blood alcohol level. That's according to documents obtained by Fox 8 as police officers escorted him away from the scene where they say he hit 32 people. Witnesses say after he smashed into this white car, he kept accelerating, never slowing down until his truck pummeled the side of this dump truck, plowing through an unsuspecting crowd. Witnesses say as he drove down the open lane on Carrollton, he never slowed down.
Way too fast. Tried to go around cars, rammed these two cars, rammed him into the pole, and he ended up going to the left, jumped the curb, took out some rows of people.
8 months. That's how long it took for us to get some basic statistics from Crime Stoppers, a nonprofit that receives public money through the court system.
It all started back in February with one simple question. What types of crimes did Crime Stoppers help to solve in 2016, and how many? For months, we went back and forth with the nonprofit, attempting to get those statistics. Repeatedly, CEO Darlene Costanzo told us we couldn't have that information.
You can't give us a ballpark, 3 homicides solved versus 30, any sort of range.
Right, we're not going to do that because we are always very concerned about the confidentiality of our tipsters.
It was information we easily obtained from a number of different Crime Stoppers organizations across the country.
They were all able to give us this information, the basic statistics, some within just a matter of minutes on the telephone. Why is that different than what we can get from you?
First off, it's not always comparing apples to apples when you're talking about different Crime Stoppers organizations. But again, I go back to the climate of the city that's involved.
State law dictates Crime Stoppers receive public money through court fees. We found a former judge who said he couldn't get crime statistics either.
It felt like Don Quixote. It was a battle you couldn't win because all the forces were against you.
Retired Jefferson Parish Judge George Giacobbe.
They wouldn't give it to me.
They wouldn't give you a basic breakdown?
Right. When I was on the bench, I would ask and I would never get it. But I wasn't going to force the issue.
So you would ask for a basic breakdown of how many crimes were solved through Crime Stoppers, and they wouldn't give you anything?
Not that, and also where the money was going, how much was spent, where it was spent. They wouldn't give it to me.
As we poured through Crime Stoppers state audits and 990s, we discovered the organization has $3 million in assets. Before our investigation, Crime Stoppers offered up to $2,500 for tips in homicide cases. Police sources questioned why offer just $2,500 in a city riddled with violent crime when the organization has so much money.
I just don't think $2,500 is even going to be an enough amount for somebody to even think about getting involved in it.
We did a study and we looked at comparisons and we came up with a number which other organizations had then bumped up to of $2,500.
After our first story aired in May, this happened.
Crime Stoppers is announcing today for the summer months that we have now increased our reward in homicides up to $5,000.
Crime Stoppers wouldn't say if our questions prompted the organization to offer more money. In fact, Costanzo wouldn't speak to us at all.
You can't answer any questions when we come to a press conference that you called.
We have answered our questions about this program. Thank you so much for coming.
We just want to know why, if you could elaborate, why today you're announcing this increase in rewards.
Hey, how are you guys?
Today, those increased rewards are still in place. As our investigation widened, we took a deeper look into the nonprofit's finances and Costanza's $200,000 plus compensation package. Costanza's package includes a yearly bonus.
The $20,000 bonus that you received in 2015, I know it was $17,000 the year before. Were there certain goals set that you had to meet in order to make that bonus?
I think that, certainly looking at my compensation, again, has been approved by a board of directors. There are certain standards that they followed.
But surely you would know if there were set goals in place for you to receive that bonus.
Again, I would refer you to the chairman of the board to discuss anything that has to do with compensation.
I think that maybe it was just as they became more comfortable with me and I had been there longer and the lines just started blurring of, you're my boss, I'm your employee.
Tonight, an exclusive interview with a woman who worked closely with celebrity chef John Besh. She claims Besh sexually harassed her, then later fired her. Good evening, I'm Kim Holden.
And I'm Lee Zurich. This Fox 8 exclusive interview comes the same day PBS stations across the country make the move to pull all Besh programming from their lineups.
Allegations of sexual harassment surfaced in an 8-month-long investigation conducted by our partners at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune.
An alleged victim describes her emotional ordeal to Natasha Robin.
I didn't do anything wrong. This wasn't something that I could have avoided.
Maggie Moore says she's been silent for too long about what unfolded when she worked for the Besh Restaurant Group as Chef John Besh's executive assistant. Moore was hired in 2013. She says she loved her job, but soon noticed an atmosphere in the office that made her uncomfortable.
There was, comments about what we were wearing, how we looked in the office, but then also, when we were out in social situations, it was just the touching and the being too close. And I always kind of looked past it and ignored it until there was one incident where John took it way too far.
They gathered early this morning saying they needed to defend Lee Circle. Go back to where you came from. Protesters voicing concern for a Southern heritage they believe is in jeopardy squared off all day with those who want Confederate-era monuments down.
And I know when we go home, somebody may come tomorrow and vandalize this monument, but they won't do it today.
In the middle of our interview, one of the day's biggest fights broke out right behind us.
We don't touch you, you don't touch us. Give him his side back.
As the marchers approached, monument supporters skirmished to the music of Dean Martin in the background. Marchers crossed Canal Street, then came to Lee Circle for more confrontations. Several scuffles broke out, and through it all, police kept a 10-foot barricade buffer between the two largest groups of protesters. With hundreds of police officers looking out from rooftops and standing nearby, an hour's worth of often heated words ended largely peacefully in a big circle.
That you're not in this alone, that you're not in this by yourself, that you have the power to somebody else to lean on. We all in this together.
And with that, the crowd at Lee Circle cleared out. The monument still standing. For exactly how much longer, no one seems to know.
Protesters clashed with supporters of the monuments. Some of those people were armed with pistols and rifles, and they stood by the monument. Some of those folks were out here for more than a week with Confederate flags. Eventually, police pushed the crowd away and barricaded the monument, even detaining several people in handcuffs.
In anticipation of the removal, it's been a contentious week. New Orleans police arrested 5 people Monday night during protests at the Jefferson Davis statue. And one of our cameras captured this exclusive video. It shows people climbing the PGT Beauregard monument, then hanging a sign that read, "This is historical violence. We say no." The statue was then splattered in paint. The Robert E. Lee monument was also vandalized with messages that said white supremacy is a lie and memory never dies. Tuesday, a Fox 8 investigation uncovered those tense moments also spilled over into emails sent to Mayor Landrieu. In just 4 days surrounding the removal of the Liberty Place monument, more than 100 emails were sent to the mayor. Outraged emailers didn't hold back in their disapproval. Many of the emails were vulgar, even threatening. Dwight said, "Good job destroying history, good or bad. People like you make me sick. May you expletive die an agonizing, long, slow death, as well as your entire family." And Robert E. Lee, that was the key. That was the key, was Robert E. Lee. He is gone, gone, gone.
The dramatic transformation of Lee Circle draws an emotional reaction from a longtime civil rights activist. The long and tedious process took more than 12 hours, but finally, at just a few minutes after 6 p.m., workers managed to remove the statue of Robert E. Lee.
All 4 Confederate-era monuments that were slated for removal in New Orleans are now gone.
These monuments celebrate a fictional, sanitized Confederacy, ignoring the death, ignoring the enslavement, ignoring the terror that it actually stood for. And after the Civil War, these monuments were part of that terrorism, as much as burning a cross on someone's lawn.
This is an abandoned well just outside of Thibodaux. First, I want you to listen just for 1 second. You can hear that sound of something clearly leaking from that oil well. Then as we zoom in up top, you can see something dripping from up there. And as we widen out and show you the ground right here, you can see it is covered with oil. And we definitely know it's oil because we've been here just for a few minutes. And as we breathe it in, it is strong. It's almost unbearable to stay here for a long time.
Where does all our money go? You know, this should have been dealt with.
Amy Benoit lives a few football fields away. How far away is your house from this oil well?
Probably about 800 foot.
Benoit says the smell can be unbearable and the state has done nothing.
The state don't have any money to deal with these wells. They're orphan wells.
These wells are a potential environmental hazard.
So look at this.
Oh, wow.
We took environmental scientist Wilma Subra.
Look at that.
To Ricky Jordan's house.
This one is a huge environmental problem.
Subra says no agency has studied the environmental impacts of these abandoned wells.
This is so many wells spread throughout the state in residential areas and commercial areas, and there's not like a sign over every one of these wells, danger.
No one's looking in the environmental impacts of any of this.
As far as doing studies and that type of thing and sending out, no sir, no one's doing any studies on it, no.
TNM Production of Houston, Texas has the most abandoned wells, 330. Drum Energy of Monroe, the second most, 194. That company is still active with the Secretary of State, but they refuse to answer correspondence from the Office of Conservation or a letter we sent last month.
How do you stop people from walking away from wells? You can't.
Few places on Earth experience the land loss that we see in coastal Louisiana every day. This was the coast in 1932. And here is what scientists warn it will look like by 2050 unless something is done to stop the land from melting away. A sea of red. 2,000 square miles, an area the size of Delaware, vanished. The Mississippi River, locked in a straitjacket of levees, no longer nourishes the delta. Oil and gas canals serve as veins of salt water gnawing at the marsh. And much of the land subsides. It simply sinks under the surface of the Gulf. This color-coded map shows where land disappeared over certain periods of time. For example, this purple area here shows the huge swath of land that was washed away in Hurricane Katrina in Breton Sound. Against all those negative forces, there are places where land has been restored. Along the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, east of the Twin Spans, a dredge carves away at the lake bottom. And a pipe delivers another type of black gold. Mud that has pieced back together 600 acres of shoreline wiped out in Katrina.
That's King. This is my baby.
Just seeing her youngest son's picture brings great joy to Rolanda Brown, but reality quickly sets in.
I'm gonna miss him. He just called, but he'll leave out tomorrow.
One weekend at 4 o'clock in the morning, Rolanda says she got the call no mother wants to get.
They say, Miss Brown, it's a detective. I was like, oh my God, I grabbed my chest.
Keene was arrested at 14 years old, accused of committing an armed robbery spree with 2 other juveniles. Keene pleaded guilty and was given credit for time served. He was released from the Youth Study Center on strict house arrest and wore an ankle monitor. When the ankle monitor was removed, she says Keene began to venture out again.
Then I get a phone call again. He's in jail with the same people.
Keene, now 16 years old, is convicted, this time as an adult, for 8 counts of armed robbery. He'll spend the next 20 years of his life behind bars.
I cry every day. I'm mentally, spiritually, physically, I'm broken. Nobody don't want to see no child do 20 years. Nobody want to see no child hurt nobody.
Rolanda believes there should be more programs available for at-risk teens.
I'm not here to like, want to be super mom or nothing like that. This is about my son. This is about King. This is about our tribe. And I felt like the system failed us.
And for the victims, for the people.
I
because
apologize. And I'm sorry.
If you drive about 3 hours west of New Orleans, you'll find a totally different Mardi Gras.
Yeah, there's still a big party, but in Mamou, the big prize turns out to be a tasty gumbo. Dave McNamara has the story from Southwest Louisiana.
It's 7 a.m. in Mamou, and the party has already started.
Oh, we ain't stopped since last night. We ain't went to bed. We don't sleep in Mamou for Mardi Gras.
Before the parade, a captain reads the rules to 150 riders.
You can't carry a gun, you can't carry a pocket knife. You got to get down and dance, then they're going to throw you some chickens.
Then the Courrier de Mardi Gras trots down Main Street, Mamou.
It goes back to medieval days in Europe, and it's based out of a celebration for the last hurrah before Lent.
Let him go!
The challenge for riders is to catch chickens. And at every stop, there are more chickens.
This ride goes on all day from house to house, collecting chickens that'll all end up in a big pot of gumbo in downtown Mamou.
It's a raucous tradition that some riders eventually outgrow. But there are plenty of younger men eager to take their place in the Mardi Gras ride in Mamou.
Well, the North Shore is looking more like the North Pole at this hour. Let's get over to Natasha Robin in Covington.
And that's right, Nancy. We are here in Covington, and you can see the snow is really coming down now. It's been snowing here since about 7 o'clock this morning, and we've gotten a lot of accumulation here on the ground. And we are here in Covington, and we found a family who's making a snowman.
We've been saying it all morning, Winter Wonderland. I heard John Snell. It was like he was about to say it was on
the tip of his tongue, but I'm challenging everybody not to say Winter Wonderland anymore. He said moving postcard. That is a great way to explain this because the snow is just falling down, and I mean, really, where else would you see this beside a postcard? Except for today here in southeast Louisiana, it is just really a magnificent sight to see.
The arms of the evergreen trees filled with snow. For hours and hours, it piled onto North Shore forests, onto nursery farms. And even the horses seemed to wonder what in the world had happened. Pine trees turned to instant Christmas trees. Children engaged in fierce snowball fights, though it was difficult to tell whether Dad wasn't having more fun. Over a sliver of land, that magical formula of just enough cold and just enough moisture combined to make snow.
Fox 8 News is New Orleans' most watched late news. Fox 8 Local First starts now.
We saw it coming. It came from that way and came right forward. All we could do was hide under the desk and hold on to each other.
Rare and powerful twisters.
That's when everything just hit. And I mean, it's just like a bomb hit, and we just stood down. We had debris all over us. Oh my God.
Shake southeast Louisiana to its core.
I heard a lot of wind blowing. I heard the windows pane knocking out. And I told my wife, get down, get out the way.
From New Orleans east to Jefferson and the North Shore.
Today we had a tough day across our state. In at least 6 different parishes, there were 7 confirmed tornadoes that touched down.
Homes, businesses, schools, and even 18-wheelers fail the test of this unexpected force of Mother Nature.
I mean, this is just total devastation, and some people just not equipped to go through this again. It's hard.
I keep trying to tell myself it's just a house, and we'll rebuild, and we will.
Communities once again forced to regroup and start over again.
Good evening, I'm Kim Holden.
And I'm Lee Zurich. The threat of severe weather is gone tonight, but the cleanup is just getting started. City and state leaders promise help as people salvage what's left and start rebuilding once again.
Chief Meteorologist David Bernard will have what was behind today's outbreaks and your forecast for the rest of the week in just a few minutes. But first, a woman shares her story of survival as she clung to her newborn.
Yeah, the tornado in New Orleans East ripped the trailer she was in to pieces.
She flew way to piss in the backyard, and I ended up by that black car right there.
Wow, Amanda Stockfeld says the only thing on her mind was protecting her 8-week-old baby girl. Rob Krieger has the story.
It was a normal day for Amanda Stockfeld, who works at this impound lot, now damaged and destroyed. Normal outside of the fact that because of a doctor's appointment, she had her 2-month-old daughter with her at work. And then in an instant, their lives were turned upside down.
I heard the sound of a freight train, and I was holding her. All I could think of was putting her back in her car seat. So I put her in her car seat, I buckled her up, I put her underneath my work desk. I crawled underneath there with her. I locked my arm around the handle of her car seat.
Within moments, as Stockfeld huddled under her desk with her daughter and another coworker, her worst fear unfolded with unyielding fury.
We heard the trailer coming apart, and then we flipped over backwards. And then it's like the trailer exploded, and me and the baby went flying through the air. And I saw the sky, the inside of the vortex. I saw her in her car seat above my head, and then we hit the ground.
As the young mother flew through the air, she gripped tightly to her newborn as Mother Nature devoured steel and tore through buildings, tossing her relentlessly. She had one thing on her mind.
Don't let go. Just don't let go. That's all I could think about, was don't let go. I couldn't think of anything else, because I knew if I let go, I wouldn't have been able to find her. And I just thought, I didn't know if she was dead. I didn't know if she was hurt. I didn't care about me. I didn't even feel my injuries until hours later. I was just worried about her, that's it.
Moments after the tornado passed, Stockfeld was captured on this Facebook Live, still in shock.
And I ended up by that black car right there. Her car seat's still right there. I had her buckled into her car seat.
And I have to say, shout out to Graco. Graco makes the best car seats in the world, because without her being in that car seat, I don't know what would have happened to her.
Now, as she takes stock of the place where she works, nearly annihilated, she can breathe easy knowing her little Autumn still has her smile, something she'll never let go.
It's just inconceivable. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I'm thinking my job's gone. You know, the only car we had is gone. But she was okay. I was okay. Everything else can be replaced.
So tonight, Stockfelt and little Autumn are at home, safe and relaxing. Their only problem now, how to replace this Jeep, their only mode of transportation, completely destroyed in the tornado. Reporting in New Orleans East, Rob Krieger, Fox 8 News.
Well, some people at NASA's Michoud assembly facility grabbed cameras when they started to see rotation outside their windows. NASA says the tornado hit around 11:25 this morning. An employee sent us pictures of the damage. It looks like a storm ripped a hole in one wall, but NASA says it doesn't appear that any of the deep space equipment that's being built there was damaged. NASA says 5 employees reported minor injuries, and that facility will be closed tomorrow.
Employees at a film studio near the Michoud facility were dangerously close to the tornado. David Collette tweeted this video from the 13,000 block of Old Gentilly Road in New Orleans East. You can see powerful winds rip apart away part of the roof of a building. The person shooting eventually ducks for cover as the winds get stronger. Businesses and homes along Chef Mentor Highway suffered extensive damage from the powerful tornado. Because of that, St. Mary's Academy on Chef announced it will be closed tomorrow.
Ryan Nakan joins us live from New Orleans East with more.
Chef Mentor Highway is still shut down from Dowman Road all the way to Michoud Boulevard. And just looking at the damage left behind by this storm, this snapped power pole that's right here, you can tell how powerful this storm was and how fortunate a lot of people are tonight. Satellite dishes discarded in power lines, roofs peeled off of houses and businesses, and cars badly damaged, some buried under piles of debris and down trees.
Awning fell on the window, and then the next thing I know, the tree fell on my car.
There's a car underneath this tree.
My car is underneath the tree. Right.
How did you get out?
People along the block came and helped me get out.
The tornado's powerful winds snapped power lines and bent metal utility poles throughout New Orleans East. Residents rushed for cover and found debris torn from businesses traveled nearly a quarter of a mile before crashing down in their backyard.
And the shoe store sign is over there in my yard.
What was it like being in that bathtub with your wife as it's coming through?
Well, it's just like being in a bathtub with my wife. Just gotta hold on. You know, all I can say is, I thank God that we just passed it over. You know, it just went on over us. We lost a few houses in the neighborhood, but still in all, we was blessed.
And blessed is something Abe Henry feels as well.
The roof flew, and all the grocery and all the liquor and all the boxes came tumbling down. I did my best to run and just cover myself.
The tornado ripped the roof off a convenience store Henry works at on Chef Mentor Highway. He could feel the tornado try to take him with it.
I had to grab onto like table, the legs of the table metal, you know, try to keep myself on the ground as it was too windy and everything was just pushing me against the wall and everything.
Police! Emergency crews went door to door to assess the damage, leaving the mark on doors many who lived through Hurricane Katrina know all too well.
Coming to see this again, it kind of reminded me of Katrina, and I was a teenager then.
And as city and state leaders push as many people out of the area still without power, they're placing more law enforcement officials inside. What was it like being in that tornado as it came through?
It wasn't fun at all, my first. And I hope not to be in another.
Majority of the cleanup effort has not begun tonight because most of this area is without power. We have seen a huge presence of police, state police, NOPD, and even some Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's deputies here, as well as the National Guard, who have 150 guardsmen here to patrol the area and help with the cleanup. That is the very latest in New Orleans East. Ryan Nakan, Fox 8 News.
All right, Ryan, thanks. More viewer video shows the tornado tear through New Orleans East, tossing cars around, even an 18-wheeler. Kenneth Hurst posted this video on Instagram. You can see the wedge of the tornado takes up almost the whole screen. Now, Hurst appears to be driving next to the tornado as it sends debris flying in all different directions. A very dangerous situation out there.
Wow. Governor Edwards warns people not to go snooping around the damage tonight.
State police presence here tonight will be robust. I can tell you that the fire marshal's office will supplement the fire department here in New Orleans, and you will also have a significant presence of National Guardsmen here tonight to secure this scene, to make sure that the shelter is secure, the key intersections are secure, and I would just ask the people to cooperate with what the mayor said earlier. This is not a time to sightsee in this area. We just toured it. It is very dangerous with power lines down, telephone poles and light poles in the road. There's sharp metal all over the place, and we need to keep the roads free so that people can get in here and start to work to get this neighborhood back the way it needs to be.
The National Guard says 150 guardsmen and women will help across the state. Edwards also got an aerial tour of the damage as he flew in today. He also declared a state of emergency for the entire state. Mayor Landrieu says, unfortunately, New Orleans knows how to deal with disaster.
We have our unfair share of experiences that we've had to learn how to respond to. People always ask how they can help. If you stay out of their way and let them do their job in the next 24 or 48 hours, it's going to make a lot of people's lives a lot easier.
Service says at least 7 parishes were hit by tornadoes today. At least 20 people were injured. 5 or 6 of those were reportedly serious. No one was killed. The tornado in New Orleans East left a 2-mile path of damage. Entergy crews were out tonight working to restore power to thousands of customers. Right now, Entergy says about 10,000 customers are still in the dark tonight.
The New Orleans Sewerage and Water Board says the city's drinking water is safe tonight. The power outage did not impact the water plant on Carrollton, which supplies the city's tap water. However, today's weather knocked out power to 17 sewer pump stations. Tonight, the Sewerage and Water Board tells us 4 of those are back online, and crews are working to fix the other ones right now. The outages could result in sewer overflows in homes and businesses. The damage across New Orleans East is extensive.
Yeah, in one neighborhood, people spent the entire day trying to salvage what little they have left after the tornado destroyed their homes. Natasha Robin has the latest from New Orleans East.
A very tough day and a very tough night for so many people in New Orleans East. Right now we are on Charles Mark Drive. That's between Chef and Lake Forest Boulevard. In this neighborhood, so many homes were lost, damaged by the tornado. If you can just look around and see the extent of damage. This is someone's front lawn. Look at all of the debris, parts of the house from the inside. Now outside on the front lawn, 2x4s have penetrated homes in so many areas. Windows blown out, just extensive damage, house after house. And these folks here are very upset about obviously what happened, and they're trying to salvage what they can. And of course, the sun went down. A lot of folks in this area worried about looting tonight. They also have to find a place to stay, but there's a lot of worry about the future and how they will recover.
It's heartbreaking to come home from work, then you couldn't even get in the neighborhood, but to see this, it's like Katrina all over again minus the water. I mean, it's just devastating. It's heartbreaking. We had to rebuild once before, now we have to rebuild our lives again. I mean, you pretty much lost everything once, and now we lost again. So it's very disheartening, it's very hurtful. It's just, how do you prepare for that? Where do you start?
A tough day for so many families out here in New Orleans East, and the cleanup and the recovery is just beginning. In New Orleans East, Natasha Robin, Fox 8 News.
The city opened a temporary shelter for storm victims who need a place to stay tonight. RTA shuttles stopped to get passengers at the intersections of Dwyer and Wilson, also Dwyer and Crowder, and took them to the shelter at the Joe Brown Park Recreation Center. The New Orleans Health Department, the Red Cross, Catholic Charities, and the New Orleans Fire Department say they will help provide assistance. The Louisiana SPCA offers assistance to pet owners affected by the severe weather. CEO Anna Zarilla says they're ready to help if a family doesn't have a roof over its head tonight and needs shelter for pets. The SPCA's humane enforcement officers are also available to help any pets or other animals that might have been injured by the storm. Students and staff at Schaumburg Elementary School had to take shelter.
Yeah, Kimberly Kurth has their story from New Orleans East.
Neighbors are trying to make sense of what happened here today, and when you look around, it is hard to believe your eyes. This happened within a matter of minutes. And when you look down Mark Drive in New Orleans East tonight, you will see home after home badly damaged, if not destroyed, cars tossed around like they're a piece of paper. And when you see just how extensive this devastation is, consider this. Schaumburg Elementary School is just down the block. The good news is that we are told all the students and staff are safe tonight.
I feel worse for the people here, you know, the people who are in walking distance of this neighborhood, the devastation that hit them. I saw a plank hit somebody's windshield. I saw a mail truck completely turned over. Cars are destroyed. Houses have no roofs. You know, I'm fine. My children are fine. My family's fine compared to them. I feel sorry for this neighborhood.
School officials tell us that students and teachers took shelter in the hallway, and that is a good thing because a classroom as well as a cafeteria was badly damaged. But we can tell you that all those students and that staff at Schaumburg Elementary School are all accounted for tonight, and they are all safe. For now, reporting from New Orleans East, Kimberly Kurth, Fox 8 News.
One woman was in her home in New Orleans East when the storm hit, and she says it seemed like a bomb hit.
The lights went out, and all of a sudden I just heard something rumbling, and then the next thing you know, it started wheezing like a freight train was coming through. And the next thing you know, we got on the ground, and all of a sudden, by the time we got on the ground, that's when everything just hit. And I mean, it's just like a bomb hit, and we just stood down. We had debris all over us. Oh my God.
Debris blocked Bundy Road and several other streets. Neighbors told us they had to park blocks away and walk to their damaged homes.
In Jefferson Parish, workers around Elmwood and Harahan noticed a funnel cloud kicking debris this morning.
Look at that. It's debris. I see it. Oh, I see it. Whoa, look. Whoa.
The storm caused transformers to blow and snapped power lines.
Today's terrifying weather took some people by surprise in Old Jefferson.
And it came from that way, and it blew and landed on top of my truck. And I just ducked down and kind of, you know, covered up like that. And it just went away, you know. It busted my front glass. It tore my campers off the back of my truck. It damaged the front of the truck.
Clarence Martin was at a fast food restaurant on Jefferson Highway near Causeway. He was not hurt. A little to the west, the storm's winds snapped a utility pole and knocked out power. Another tornado was captured on video as it roared in from Lake Pontchartrain toward Madisonville. That caused extensive damage to 3 homes on Gust Island. One of the homes was knocked off its piers, another had a brick wall blown off, and yet another suffered roof damage. Fire officials say it would have been much worse if the tornado had struck 4 miles east and actually hit Madisonville.
It had caused a lot of damage. You know, you're in a wide open area right here, so, you know, the winds, you know, have really nothing to stop them. But in town, you know, you have a lot of older houses and they have tin roofs, and you would have had plenty of projectiles flying through town, which could have been really, really bad.
The whole house shook, trembled. We don't know inside about structural damage or that kind of stuff like that. We got to investigate that to find out.
No one was hurt as a result of that tornado.
We have much more about today's severe weather online. St. Mary's Academy in New Orleans East is closed tomorrow. Find any other school closures along with slideshows, survivor stories, and more on the response efforts on fox8live.com and our free news app.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast from David Bernard.
Well, the big story tonight, at least, is how much fog are we going to have? And we have very heavy sea fog that has developed. Look, Port Fourchon, 0 visibility, half-mile of Boothville. It's dropping on the Gulf Coast. It looks like it's starting to spread inland, and it may be developing over the lake as well. If we look at our fog potential tomorrow morning, I think this is going to be right. It's going to be heavy in some spots, especially near the water, and patchy in others. Shelby will have the latest beginning at 4:30 a.m. It could affect your commute. Right now, we have a dense fog advisory in effect for the Lake Pontchartrain, and for the Gulf of Mexico. There is a land fog advisory for Morgan City West, but not for our area yet. If the sea fog spreads inland further or the lake fog really expands, then we'll see those advisories extended overnight. So at least look for some patchy fog tomorrow morning, and then a really warm day, 74, but no storms. The severe weather threat is over, and most tomorrow, all we're going to see is a sprinkle. Outside tonight, it is muggy, sultry. I mean, this is February. Amazing. Upper 60s and low 70s right now. Very high humidity. That dew point number is in the territory where we oftentimes expect fog. Northern St. Tammany Parish today. Look at the hail that fell in northern St. Tammany. It was very heavy. And you know what? You knew that was coming. And how did you know that? Because of the Viper hail track. And we were able to track this hailstorm beginning well west into Tangipahoa Parish. And this shows us where the heaviest hail is falling. And that picture came in from just south of Sun and Bush, right in this area here. So again, the Viper hail track did verify this time. Now, look at these pictures from New Orleans East. From our Fox 8 Facebook page. Again, just a couple of examples of the damage that was done today. Again, look at this storm. It just crushed the back half of the car. Once again, on Viper, that allowed us to prove that, yeah, it was able to do the trick and point out where that storm is. Warm breeze and a stray shower tomorrow with a cold front to the north and west. That's going to come through tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're going to have cooler breeze and bright sun, great weather. On Friday, you bet, it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day, chilly start, and some comfy sun. Very muggy tonight, patchy fog, dense in spots, lows in the 60s. Could be near a record high tomorrow of 80. Sun and clouds and just a stray shower. Otherwise, it's going to be warm and breezy. And rain chances the rest of the week, 20% on Wednesday, and then it's going to be dry. And then 30% shower chances Monday and Tuesday, but those chances basically look pretty low. So some really nice weather coming up Thursday and Friday. The weekend doesn't look bad. Maybe a little bit warmer, certainly no cold blast on the way. But after today, just saying that we're not expecting severe weather and quiet weather, that's what we all need to help everybody recover. So I'm just glad the day is out, and yes, we got through this. We have injuries. We did not have a fatality.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Right. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yep. Yes. All right. Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
David.
David.
Because of the severe weather today, part 2 of our special investigative series, Hooked Up, will not air tonight. Tomorrow night, we have more on the millions of dollars a small group of fishermen make fishing in the Gulf.
Mr. Sutherland's back doing what he's best at.
Not being a congressman?
Burying people.
Tomorrow night at 10, the power of these fishermen making millions off a public resource and how they use that power to keep making the money. Watch part 2 of Hooked Up tomorrow night on Fox 8 News at 10. It wasn't just the metro area that was impacted by today's storms.
A look at the damage in the rest of the state coming up. A tornado touched down in Ascension Parish today, destroying homes in Donaldsonville.
Yeah, walls and rooftops crumbled. Some homes were even ripped off their piers. One survivor says he took cover just in time as parts of his home came crashing down on top of him.
The ceilings just started coming down on top of me, and the door shut on me. And so I know it was the Lord. I know it was Jesus, kept me in the room. Because if I would have went out there, I probably would be here right now. So I thank Jesus for my life.
Local leaders toured the damage this afternoon.
Tornadoes. This storm system at times was dumping hail on the area. This is video from Alligator Bayou in Prairieville. Viewer Carney Raven shared the video with our sister station in Baton Rouge, WAFB. We have new information tonight as Tangipahoa Parish authorities arrest a dozen people in connection with the death of a man in the parish jail. 11 people are booked with second-degree murder and obstruction of justice. An additional juvenile is charged as a principal to second-degree murder. They're accused of an unprovoked attack on 40-year-old Tommy Joe Smith January 30th. Investigators say Smith had just been booked into the jail on a parole violation. The inmates thwarted his attempts to find a bunk. Then they say he was attacked in what other inmates described as a shark-feeding frenzy as he tried to leave to ask a deputy to move him to another area. Louisiana family is dealing with an unimaginable tragedy.
My son got sick very quickly, and you know, I'm a nurse, and I could not figure out what it was and had no idea that it would end up leading to his death.
They're grieving the loss of their teenage son, and for months they didn't know what killed him. We wanted to bring you their story tonight, but we're unable to because of the severe weather. So look for Kimberly Kurth's special report, Deadly Symptoms, at a later date on Fox 8 News. Well, the football coaching carousel saw several new faces in familiar places,
including a spot for New Orleanian Jabbar Jalouk. Juan Kincaid recaps a busy day next in sports.
Fox 8 Sports is brought to you by AutoSmart. Be smart, buy smart.
Good coaches don't remain unhappy for long, right? Jabbar Jalouk, role reduced at LSU after National Signing Day, is a happier man tonight. He's moved on to Texas Tech, hired as their associate head coach and running backs coach. Before he was hired by the Tigers, Jalouk spent 3 weeks on Tech staff as their running backs coach back then. A year ago, LSU also hired a couple of coaches, Shaw alum Mickey Joseph as its wide receivers coach, and Tommy Robinson comes aboard with multiple titles, assistant head coach, running backs coach, and recruiting coordinator. And the Falcons have lured Steve Sarkisian away from Alabama to become the Dirty Birds' new offensive coordinator. How about some college hoops from this evening in the SEC? LSU at 15th ranked Kentucky. LSU trying to hang in this game. On the break, Skylar Mays feeds Antonio Blakeney. Huge game for him as he throws it down. He had 31 points, but the Tigers still down by 14. Got it close to 10, but not much closer after that. Too much Kentucky. Malik Monk from distance. Wildcats run away and hide late, 92-85. And over in Old Metairie this evening, Country Day, Riverside, always a fun game to go to and watch. Country Day's Garland Robertson open from the wing, knocks down the three, put the Rebs up early. Caleb Jenkins responds for Country Day, cut to the basket, gets it up and gets it down. The game is tied up at that point, and the Cajuns take the lead, courtesy of Justin Ibieta for three. Country Day, they get the win big on the roads, actually at home, 72-50 is your final score. Good game uptown in Mid-City.
All right, thanks a lot, Juan.
That is the news. Thanks for watching. We've got much more in the aftermath of today's severe weather on fox8live.com and our free news app.
Yeah, and of course, look for updates on Fox 8 Morning Edition, which starts at 4:30 tomorrow morning. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
With the Fox 8 Final Play app, you're never without Fox 8 Sports. Download the app now for push alerts and the latest black and gold breaking news and highlights. Sponsored by Cadillac of New Orleans. New owners, new attitude. Fox 8 is proudly locally owned.